Welcome to Let's Talk Maywood on Diversity Today Media, Sunday edition, special Sunday edition. Thank you for joining us. Hope everyone had a great day of worship service in church or virtual or praise God in some type of way because this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And now I will bring on my co-host, my co-laborer in the vineyard, and expert investment analyst, Terrence Hollisworth. Terry, good Sunday afternoon, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I thought for a moment I'm about to speak in tongue doing this introduction. Shit. I'm glad we got through it, man. How you been?
I'm good. Hey, so how's the weather out there? It's you out
Man,
running like normal.
yeah, it was a beautiful day in the mid 60s out here in the DMV. We've had maybe a half inch of snow all winter.
Oh man.
So I'm not complaining. I'm still, still getting used to it. I mean, I'm used to cold weather right about this time of year. So today was a
Hmm.
beautiful day. The temperature is going to drop a little bit later on this week, but as of Sunday, it was a beautiful day for a run and a podcast. How about you?
Yeah,
How's it going out there in Iowa?
yeah, it's good. We're getting warm. I keep trying to put on shorts and then have to put something else on because I get
Oh,
cold. But
yeah,
I got
yeah,
spring fever already.
yeah. Well, next week is Central Daylight Savings Time, so you spring forward, set your clock ahead 1 hour. So for those who didn't know, that is the time to do it. Next Sunday at 2 a.m., I believe, about
Yeah.
2 a.m. So what's going on in the world of finance? All the stock markets are closed and everything, and what's been going on with that, Terry?
So this week is a pretty important week. You heard me talk. Even last year about how the economy and inflation is driving the market, and the Federal Reserve is saying we need to see interest rates at 2% before we stop raising interest rates. And so two things that are happening. One, the labor report comes out on Wednesday, and the labor report tells us a lot about what the Federal Reserve is going to do, because high labor costs translates into increased costs for us as consumers. The other thing is it gives us some insight on spending. And the one thing that we know is happening is spending is not slowing down for the regular person. So we're out spending, we are trying to take vacations, we're going out to eat, we're doing all of those things. And on one sense is great. On the other sense, it is the exact thing that the Fed is trying to slow down and trying to keep people from spending so much money. And the only way that they can do that is by raising interest rates. So,
Indeed, indeed. Well, we are in the midst of tax season right now. Some by now, have received their refund check, and I'm sure some have spent their money. What kind of
yeah,
investment
right.
advice? The eyes get big. Oh my goodness! For those who have received a check and have not spent it, and those who are going to receive a refund check this tax season, what kind of cautions, should I say, can you offer to those out there as far as spending habits, investing?
That is a great question because many people take and they plan all year around getting a refund check so they can make the big purchase. And I always advise that at the end of the day, do not make the big purchase,
Mhm.
right? Um, that big purchase, those habits translate into buying something on credit cards. And, people sometimes they buy stuff all year with the anticipation of getting a big refund check and then paying off the credit card.
Mhm.
That's not the kind of habits that creates wealth. And we're in the wealth creation business. That's what we look for. And that requires some discipline in investing. That requires some discipline in spending.
Yes. I have one more question before we bring on our guests. There are others out there who have financial literacy podcast workshops, and they use these catchphrases like financial literacy, financial freedom, financial repair. What sets us apart from those who don't have the credibility like you do, or myself for that matter?
So
Um,
that's a great question. We're professionally trained every day. I'm raising money and investing and giving advice about investing. And so there's a very big difference between the decision criteria that we make in terms of what we're buying, why we're buying it, compared to someone that just says, hey, you know, invest just in mutual funds because mutual funds has less risk. If
Mhm.
you come on to our class, we will talk about that, which is why a person has the same amount of risk if you invest in mutual funds or individual stocks.
Okay.
So I invite everybody to come and hang out with us so that we're having really safe conversations about investing and we're answering questions about retirement planning or just kind of getting your feet wet and things like that. So Reggie, how do people get invited to the class?
So to receive some great authentic information from us and to participate in our Thursday afternoon class, reach out to me by email at sratliff68 at yahoo.com. Let me know that you're interested in partaking in this class, which is free and it's virtual. So you can do it from your bedroom or in another country if you want. But I will in turn send you a link to access the class and we can talk about real finance in terms of investments and wealth building and things of that nature.
Correct. So hope to see everybody soon, and I'm excited to be able to learn more about Chef T.
Yes, sir. I'm excited about introducing our next guest on this special Sunday afternoon podcast. Her name is Chef T. Scott. She is the owner and founder of Vegan Teas, which is located in Orland Park in the south suburbs. And she's going to talk about her story and her restaurant and all the fantastic she's doing for the Chicagoland community at large. So, without further ado, I'd like to bring on Chef T.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Chef T. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm so glad to have you on this Sunday afternoon. And I know that you're in the midst of doing a lot of things. You have events and things of that nature, a restaurant to run. And so I know that the sleep is always a bonus when you can get some. So I want to jump right into it if you don't mind. So, Chef T, you hail from the south side of Chicago originally, right?
I am. I am from the south side of Chicago, Beverly, from
Beverly.
Beverly area.
Absolutely. So this is more of an introduction to some and present to others who know you. You are pretty well known around the Chicagoland area. Some of the
Yeah.
accomplishments that you've gained Chicagoland wise, as well as throughout the United States. So for those who don't know Chef T beyond that of a restaurant owner, tell us about who you are, like how you grew up, where you went to school, and what your vision was for starting Vegan Teas.
Okay, that's a good question. I grew up on the south side of Chicago with 10 siblings. So it's 10 of us, one father, one mother, all one house.
All right.
And not staying too far into that particular area, but I am um, uh, was pretty popular in school, um, you know, gymnast and cheerleader and the whole 9 yards. However, I grew up with two Southern parents. My mother's
Mm,
Indian, and my dad is, of course, Black, Louisiana. My father and my mom's from New Orleans. So, you've got that mix of Southern cuisine. And so we did a lot of heavy butter cooking. And back in those days when I was coming up, it was a thing where, which they don't do anymore, but in the city of Chicago, they had they had backyards that each neighbor had a tree, whether it be a pear tree, an apple tree, or some fruit tree that was in our community. I don't know about anybody else's. And then at one particular point of the year, we'd have harvest day. So we would go to each other's backyards and pick plums and cherries and apples and things like that. And that was a form of community that we no longer see anymore, nor can we go in each other's backyards and pick anything. And especially in Chicago. But
right.
anyway, so that's something we did. So at that point, that's kind of the things we that we had. As far as my educational background, I have 5 degrees. I have an undergrad in business from U of I. I have a master's in finance from the University of Chicago. I have an undergrad in theology from Moody Bible Institute and a master's in divinity. And of course, I am classically trained from La Cordon Bleu. So
Nice. Well-rounded. Well-rounded. So how were you able to pack all those skills that you gained through higher academia, notwithstanding the roots that were established by your parents when you were growing up, and form this person we have today called Chef T?
I mentioned I come from a big family, and two of my family members are already passed on from diabetes. And so about 12 years ago, 251 pounds ago, I was told that I had prediabetes. And because of my brother that had already passed away from diabetes, my sister had already passed away from diabetes, I knew that the the narrative would be the same. And so something had to happen. And what the band-aid or the solution is for most hospitals or doctors is, here, take this medication. That's a band-aid. I need a solution. So I told my doctor, I said, well, did I come into the hospital, to the world with prediabetes? She said, no. I said, well, how do you get it? And she says, generally you eat it on. That was a very big, turnaround for me, because I saw the damage that it did. I saw people get their limbs cut off. I saw one of my sister-in-laws get her leg cut off, and they told her, if you change your diet, you won't have to, get any more amputations. And she went to White Castles and got a chocolate shake. There's something wrong with that picture. And so from that point, I began to do things differently. And on our Daniel fast, I would gain weight, but there was something about the Daniel fast that made me start to consider there's got to be something about eating from the earth that I might need to investigate. So I began from there 12 years ago. I told my doctor, I said, if I lose weight and reverse the situation, will I have to take the medication? And she said, no. So the first time I gained, the second time I began to lose. And then I began to change my diet and began to go back to school to learn how to, to cook. And so that's a short version of why I'm doing what I'm doing. It was a health reason. It was not for, and I understand there are people that want to save the animals. I was trying to save my life. And so
Right.
that's kind of how it happened.
That's amazing. You said 251 pounds ago, which
Yeah.
means that you were over 251 pounds, right?
Yeah, I'm 140 pounds today, and I was 251 pounds at that time.
Amen. What a blessing that is. I want to put a pin on that, right? If I could, Chef T. In the Black community, we have a major problem, accepting the fact that we have sugar in our blood or diabetes,
Yes.
hypertension. From your expert, perspective, why is that? I know it's not as simple as just eating, right? I mean, isn't it more complicated than that?
No, it's not.
No.
It's our diet. We don't want to admit that we eat things that we should not have. I mean, because it tastes good. Back when I grew up, we used lard. Food was heavier. And then all of a sudden they changed the dynamics of the heaviness of that. And then they gave us oil, and we kept eating because we wanted to satisfy the heaviness that we once got from the lard. You cook chicken in lard and it felt like you had a lead, brick in your belly. And then they changed right in the mid 70s to using, vegetable oil, and it made things a little bit lighter, but it was still not good for you at that point. Unfortunately, most and I'm just going to say with the African Americans, I can only speak for, the culture I come from, but we eat food. I'm trying to get this right. We eat food that tastes good, and fat tastes good. Fat has the ability to sustain flavor. And so that's what we're trying to do, is get that flavor. If it tastes good to me, if it feels good, in my belly, if I'm full and satisfied, then I'll eat, but unfortunately your body is still hungry. And so your body continues to try to find something to satisfy that particular taste. So unfortunately, I would love to say that, it's in our ethnicity. No, it's in our diet, and we eat it on. And if we stop eating food that don't satisfy our internal organs, then we will continue to try to find things to satisfy that itch that you have, and you never scratch it, and then you become frustrated, and then after a while your body says, okay, I can't take any more in here. And so that's what happens to this. So hopefully, if I answered your question, it has nothing to do. Now, don't get it twisted. There are people who are type 1. I know somebody said, well, I got it, and I didn't need it on. Yeah, that there's type 1 diabetes, but type 2, that is you've eaten that on. High blood pressure, that sometimes can be hereditary, but a lot of times it is diet related. And so if we take out the things that initiate the diet, because you don't know what they give the animals, we don't know what the farmers do with them. We have no idea what's happening with that and the trauma that those animals go through. And all of a sudden you've got some apalapa disease and you don't know where the heck it came from because grandmama didn't have it and auntie didn't have it.
Right,
So how
right.
did you get it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You've eaten it on. Take away that stuff and you will watch your health reverse. You will see your body get healed, and you'll find that these diseases that the doctor says you got to take this medication from and destroy your body more, you find out that you don't have it at all.
Wow, that's truly amazing. I love how you are able to connect the past with what's going on today. Not downing the past or to present, but you are talking about the transition in lard to vegetable oil to canola oil and how we think is good, but it's not good for us. That kind of thing. So I love that. So are you saying that diabetes is reversible?
It's reversible if you don't take the medication. And once you take that medication, unfortunately, it's very difficult to get off of those statin drugs. You have to understand that the pharmaceutical community, so you're talking to somebody who's got 4 degrees. Pharmaceutical community is one of the biggest financial gains in the earth.
Yes.
And so if I can give, do you not know that every doctor that assigns a script to you for medication is getting a check at the end of the month? So it makes them good business to give you medication. It doesn't make them good business if they don't. And so for me, I want a solution. Do not give me a Band-Aid. And unfortunately, I've had people come into my restaurant, their stomachs down to their knees, and they tell me, I can't. And then when they do, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know I could.
Yeah.
And so, it is finding the reverse to satisfy and wake up the brain, to make the brain understand what vegetables taste like. We don't just eat lettuce. We're not just eating rabbit. But I would rather eat something that I can pull from the ground than eat poison that I don't know where the heck it's coming from.
Great point.
You understand what I'm saying? We're killing ourselves. Yes, we're going to die from something. Don't get it twisted. But we have to understand that we are the leaders of our physical bodies, and we can change, we can reverse, and we can heal ourselves based off of what we eat and how we eat it, and we don't have to eat all of the food that we think we do. Let me give you a quick analogy. Have you ever had an itch on your back that you couldn't reach, and so you say, "Hey, can you get this itch? Can you scratch my back?" And so they say, "Okay, where?" And you say, "Go to the left," and they go too far. You say, "Go up," and they go too far, too high. You say, "Go down," they go too far down, and they go to the right too far. And then by the time they get to it, it's gone. So now you're frustrated. So this is what we do when we eat too much, and because your body is trying to get satisfied. But when you eat the nutrients that you need, A, you're not going to eat as much. B, you're going to be satisfied. And C, your body is going to lose weight because it's going to run at its optimal performance based off of the things that it's asking for. It's asking for vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D. And you're not going to get that with lard. You're not going to get that with vegetable oil. You're not going to get that with certain meats. I have people come in and say, oh, I'm gluten intolerant. And then I say, well, do you eat meat? And they say, yeah, well, what do you think they're giving the animals? They're giving them wheat. So how are you telling me that you are intolerant to something that you're ingesting every day? Think about the fact that we have to pay attention to what we're saying. If it doesn't make sense, then it doesn't make sense.
Wow. I love it. You know what? You preaching. And I know that you are a minister. All right. So
I am.
yes, Lordy. How does this connect? And we're going to get into your restaurant because I know that we have limited time. But how does this connect to ministry in terms of, the Bible talks about, eating and taking care of our body and things like that. How does this connect to that from a ministerial standpoint in our community, in our churches?
Well, many churches right now, and this is what I'm getting ready to go do now, are on the Daniel fast. And for me, it's too easy. So I have to go raw most oftentimes because this is the way I eat every day. I eat from the earth every day. But the more importantly, when we do the Daniel fast, it is not a diet. It is a way of getting the nutrients. If we read that scripture correctly, the Bible says that when these gentlemen came in and, we got Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, let me say it right. They were slaves, and they were going to get something to eat that was being, offered up to, to these gods that they didn't agree with. And so when it got down to the vet, he said, look, give us the vegetables, we'll eat that. And they were afraid they were going to lose weight. And if they lose weight, they felt that this was going to cause them some type of death. Now there's some an aha moment here. When they ate, not only were they physically fit, but they were able to sustain and grow in a better way with the vegetables, because again, the jailers felt that if they didn't eat this food and they lost too much weight, that they were going to get killed. So they were protecting themselves. So to answer your question, the implemental value of saving people's lives is so important to me, from the perspective of someone coming to me that had kidney failure and was going to get a new kidney, but couldn't get the kidney until they lost weight. I became their personal chef. They have their new kidney. From a person who had high blood pressure and or pre-diabetes and no longer have that. So it became more of a ministry to me, because I got a chance to feed your soul and your spirit at the same time by providing you with all of these elements that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and they that dwell therein. So I'm giving you back what's already there, and all I'm doing is it's a recyclical concept, if you will. Right. You're eating what God has already put in the earth. And therefore, if I can save your life, if I can change your mind, if I can sustain you from taking medication, if I can stop you from killing something else in your body, because whatever you take from a medication standpoint is killing something else in your physical body that you don't know of today, but tomorrow is going to happen. So in essence, for me, if I'm taking blood pressure medication and now all of a sudden I got diabetes, and now all of a sudden I got a limb being cut off, and the next I got a foot being cut off, and next thing I'm in a wheelchair with no legs at all, that makes no sense. The medication is supposed to solve the problem, not continue to deteriorate it and make it worse.
Band-Aid, like you said, a Band-Aid, not a solution. I love that.
Exactly. And we need to begin to ask doctors, what is the, what is the benefit of taking this medication, and what other damages it's doing? Have you ever listened to the commercial that says, this is a Zeneca, a medication? I'm just making it up. They said, it may cause dry eye, it's going to cause an itchy throat, and you might have runny bowel, and you're going to, lose water in your throat, and your hair may fall out.
You might die. Yeah.
But take it, So are you going to take that, or will you take something that's going to satisfy your flesh and your body? I mean, satisfy your flesh and your body internally. What happens is people say that, okay, it doesn't taste good. Let me solve that problem for you. As a classically trained chef, as a woman that's from an Indian mother and a daddy from the South, both of them from the South, I can fix that situation.
Yes.
We can make it taste good. So if I can make it taste good, give you the flavor and the texture, oh God, I don't care what it is. I'm going to eat it, as long as it's going to cause me not to cause more damage to my body. My thing is if I can get people to wake up and stop saying, the doctor told me I got the this, got the that. Stop telling me what the doctor said to you. The doctor, Jehovah Rapha, says that he's already created the things in the earth that's going to cause your body to be restored, cause you to be healthier, and to cause you to live longer and look better. My age reversed. Okay? I look younger now than I did 10, 15 years ago.
Wow.
Now, I'm not sure how old I am, but I got a 42-year-old son.
Wow. Wow. Holla back.
I'm just saying that at the end of the day, because I don't know who's on here, I might have to find somebody that, But anyway, so I know, right? So it's at that point where we have to, measure the things that, God says, I gave everybody a measure of faith. Have enough faith to recognize that what God has already planted in the earth can save your life and extend it at the same time and reverse all of that foolishness that you're having. You ain't got to go to the gym and stay all day long.
Right.
I can guarantee you that as well. So again, this ministry that I have comes from, I see the evidence.
Mm,
That's
yes.
what I'm saying. I see the evidence. If I didn't see the evidence, I probably wouldn't talk so much about it.
Right.
So
No, I love it. Love it. You are the living testimony, in essence, right?
I am.
Yeah. And so by just for clarification's sake, that has come from the book of Daniel. Is that correct? The Daniel
That's
diet?
correct.
Okay.
That's it. The Daniel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's go into this next and final stage. Your restaurant.
Yeah.
What was your vision? What was your motivation to start Vegan Teas in Orland Park?
I used to be at farmers markets, and at farmers markets, that was, I was always at farmers markets doing what I do. I was always, selling cheese and making gyros and fajitas and Philly cheesesteaks. And my line was the longest line in the farmers market. I was just doing it as fun. It was something I did to, I thought this was going to be my retirement thing, just go hang out on a Saturday and fix some food that I liked, because everything that I created was from myself, to transition myself away from the foods that was causing me death, cheese, you know, um, burgers and all that. So I create chicken. My fried chicken is probably one of the best in the country. I have people coming from all over just to try our chicken. And, there's no Impossible or Beyond, no soy, none of that in my food. The very thing that people are concerned with, I don't have. There's no preservatives in my food because I make it myself. So I am the preserve that goes into the food. My sweat and tears and prayers
Right.
is what is being used. So my goal was, if I can make it flavorful, if I can make it taste good, if I can lower the calories for you, will you try it? And if you do, I got you. I
Right.
got cheese. People say, "Oh, cheese is the hardest thing." I got you on the cheese. I can do that. And so it's all the things that I liked, and I'm sharing it with the world. So that's kind of how Vegan Teas kind of came to be. And when my line got so long at Homewoods Farmers Market, someone said, "You need a brick and mortar. When are you going to open up one?" And I declared it as so, spoke it into existence, and here I am today.
Amen. And you started Vegan Teas what year?
2019. So I'm in my 4th year now.
So you started prior to the pandemic, and
Yes,
somehow, by God's grace, you got through the pandemic, and here
I
you
did.
are, still in existence,
Yes,
notwithstanding some of the challenges that small business owners have. However, you're still making it, like you're still around.
it's
What?
hard.
Yeah,
It's hard.
yeah. So, what has been your motivation to keep going in light
The
of?
people, the community at large. I've had people that made a bucket list, and I'm on it. I'm like, oh my God, we made it to the top 10 restaurants in Illinois. Which is a blessing in itself. Having people come from Missouri,
Mm,
Hawaii,
mm,
New York, California, and say, "Hey, you were on my list, and I had to come see you." I got folks coming from Minnesota that's driving through Michigan and stopping by and saying, "Hey, we looked you up and we were coming to see you. We follow you on Instagram." And so these individuals that I meet all over the world, I mean, we're talking Asian, Mexican, Indian,
mhm.
Black, white, all walks of life have walked through the doors and have eaten my food. The blessing is that I'm reaching a mass of people more than I ever thought I would ever reach. I thought I was going to do it a different way, but
Right.
this is the way that God has given me to meet people. And I want, one of the most important things to me is customer service. I want to make sure that I treat you with as much love as I possibly can. I am in this is a no judgment zone when you walk through our door.
Mhm,
We want you to come in and enjoy yourself. If you don't know what this stuff is, I will give you as much information as I can share
mhm.
without giving you a recipe, and allow you to come in and have a good time while you eat at our restaurant. It's an eatery. We never had it as a restaurant, but
Mm,
it became a place where people came in and said, "Hey, she knows my name.
mm.
She's very personable." And so now folks come in, and now I need more space so that we can have that sit down type of concept. But right now we had it as a fast food restaurant. That was the original intent, so that we could have something that we can grab and go. And that
Mm.
was the original intent of our restaurant in the
Well,
beginning. And I
right.
say our
Yeah.
because I lost my spouse to a suicide. So I have
Mm,
to share that as well, because at one point I came in with he and I started the restaurant together, and now it's just myself running it
How have
alone.
you
So
been able to keep going, Chef T? I'm sure people want to know since you mentioned that people have lost spouses different ways, but how have you been able to have the strength to continue in spite of that? I mean, you could have just packed it up and said, "God's with me," but you decided to keep going. What made you keep going?
I think the motivation came from, again, the customers. The customers came in. They didn't walk in the door, I wouldn't have a restaurant. And if they didn't walk in the door, I think I probably would have gotten lost, along with my church members and pastor and that. The community loved on me. The people that are vegans loved on me. People came in the door and bought tacos and left $100 tips and things of that nature to keep me open. And that was overwhelming, and also extremely humbling that people would love on me like that. I had never experienced that before in my life. So that was the motivation. Like, it gave me something to get up for every morning,
Amen.
because I do the shopping, I do the cleaning, I stock the place. I mean, I do have a few employees, but I'm doing all of that alone.
Mhm.
And so I'm the secretary, the receptionist, the janitor, the security officer,
Mhm.
the chef, the cook, the brand. I'm all of that. And when you're in your own business, especially as a minority, owner, we
Mhm.
don't get the same, grace as other cultures. It's
Mhm.
harder for us. We can't get loans or what have you. And then when we do get them, they're at these interest rates that we shouldn't have, but you take them because you don't know what else to do, because you
Right.
want to continue to go. Because remember, I kept people working through COVID, so I had to reinvent myself so that I could do what I do. So, I reinvented myself. I made it work and made it happen, and caused it to be what it is today. But, we busted our butts. I mean, I went to people's cars with a
Mm.
handheld device, and,
Mhm.
and, tried to keep going from those particular perspectives. So, we couldn't get PPP because we made too much money. And I'm like, how did that
Wow.
but even though we made too much money, that money went into product and went into, purchasing. I got to change my battery here. Purchasing, different kind of equipment that we had to utilize,
Right.
because we had to put things into perspective of packaging
Mm.
and cleaning materials and things of that nature. So it was hard.
Mm.
But when you have something that you are passionate about, then it comes to a point where you have to do what you have to do to
Mhm.
keep it going, because the people wanted to keep it going. And so, to keep me alive and keep me motivated, I kept it going. So that's how it went. That's how it happened.
Amen. You talked about community. You talked about something that's really impacting the Black community, others as well. But I'm African American, so I care about our people. Diabetes.
Yeah.
You talked about the powerful Daniel diet, and talked about going from tragedy on your way to triumph through Vegan Tea's Eatery. And so we continue to pray for your strength. And I want to know, as we wind down this podcast, I'm going to give you a final opportunity to make some final thoughts and any events that's coming up and how the audience can reach you in terms of going forward. If you information you can share, the stage is
Okay. Awesome, awesome. Listen, first of all, I'm getting ready to do a YouTube for a Daniel fast is happening right today at 4 o'clock. I will be on All Nations Community Church's YouTube channel. I will be creating a cuisine that I'm going to teach you how to make online. If anyone wants to reach us, you can reach me at 773-418-7469. Yes, it is the cell phone number that we utilize for our restaurant, because we want people to text us as well as call us. And we have our restaurant number, which is 708-645-4111. Our restaurant is located at 14600 South LaGrange Road in Orland Park. every day. You'll find me on Instagram at Vegan Teas 14600, as well as Facebook at Chef T or Vegan Teas. You'll find me there as well. I'm always accessible. I like talking to my customers because if you ask me a question, I will give you as much information as possible, because my hope is that I can make you more of a plant-based eater than anything else, so that you can have a longer life, a healthier life, more energy, bringing you to a revitalization, resurfacing your spirit and your health, and making sure that you can actually stay longer as time goes on. If anyone ever wants to book me to bring me into your restaurant, or not restaurant, but into your home, or to an event, or even if you are having an event that you need a vegan chef to come and do some items for you, you can always catch me at, again, 773-418-7469 or 708-645-4411, or you can email me or check me out at tscheese2017@gmail.com. Any of those areas, Facebook us or Instagram us, and I will actually get back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chef T. You've shared a powerful testimony, just how you overcame your own personal challenges, how you triumphed through starting Vegan Teas in Orland Park, and how you continue to move forward and offer great services to our communities throughout the Chicagoland area. And I'd like to thank you for tuning in on this special Sunday afternoon podcast. It's been an honor and a privilege to bring such another fantastic guest to you. Tune in for our next guest on Let's Talk Maywood on Diversity Today Media. And please like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. And until next time, please be safe. God bless you and have a blessed week.